Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Amplify Your Business. Today, I am talking to Ryan Brown. He is a partner and past sales manager. We'll get into why there's a past in that title in a few moments, of Integrity Waste Solutions. Welcome to the show, Ryan.
Thank you for having me.
So, Ryan, I'm really excited to get into your story because, like I hinted there, in terms of the past, title, I guess, is that you're stepping away from the business, or recently have stepped away from the business, still a partner, but you're trying to discover what the future might hold for Ryan. And so you're on the hunt for your next adventure, basically, in
I am,
entrepreneurship.
yes.
Yeah. And that sounds really, really interesting, and I can't wait to get into that part of it. Before we do that, though, I want to see what you have in terms of advice for existing entrepreneurs. So you've been at this for a while. What would you say are three things that every entrepreneur needs to know in order to have a successful business?
Thanks for the question, by the way, and again having me on the show. Quite excited because, as I mentioned, this is my first podcast ever, so it's fun. And I did think about this a lot. One of the things was, I think, explaining to new entrepreneurs that I think passion comes first. You have to believe in what you're doing, and you have to have a strong passion for it. I believe that there will be hard times. I think that they're never unavoidable in a business, and it's that passion that will carry you through, and your dedication to something that's maybe a little greater than yourself, and then you believe you're really doing good work in whatever field or product or service that you provide. So that's typically the biggest one for me. I think the next one is to hire good people that have different skill sets than you. Even the most well-rounded person, I believe, has gaps in their skill sets. And there's too many skills out there these days to be good at everything. And I've made the mistake of hiring myself a few times over and realizing that doesn't solve my problems. I need other people that have skill sets. So if you're looking for partners, get partners who have different skill sets. If you're looking to hire different skill sets so that you can really cover those gaps that you might not want to do, or those tasks, or some of those things that you just don't enjoy doing. So, and someone else would do it better.
Yep.
Okay. And the last one actually is I've always been privileged in enjoying all the people I work with, and part of that's me being relatable and other people being relatable, I think. But we spend more time with the people we work with than we do with our families quite often. And one of the things about that I've been lucky throughout my career is I've always had great people to go do work with, and that has always really made myself enjoy just going to the office and knowing there's staff that I get to share stories and hear stories about them and those type of things, and create a family at work, which is is the atmosphere I prefer to work in.
Yeah, definitely. It's a lot better. And like you said, you spend so much time, usually more than what you do with your family, with the workers that you're working with. And so, it's important to be able to like who you go to work with, for sure. And as an owner, I mean, you obviously get to set that tone, and you get to hire those people in and stuff. And so it's nice to be able to influence that. I'd like to go back to your second point there, just in terms of like surrounding yourself with the right people, because what people maybe don't know is that the current company, I think you said there's 6 partners in this current company, Integrity Waste Solutions.
That's
right?
Correct. Yes.
Yeah. And so this partnership group or ownership group, you've known each other for quite some time, it sounded like. And so you definitely knew what the skills were of everybody coming in, and how you're going to be working together. Is that right?
Well, the first time around, we were still quite young. We were 24 with Evergreen, and I said there was 3 partners, and one of them was my wife, and I was lucky to be there from the beginning. And so at the beginning, no, but because I didn't realize how important this point would be to me early on in my career. And some of us have filtered to, we gravitated towards things. So I did gravitate towards sales. And we had 4 people there alone that needed to fill different roles, so it made life a lot easier as opposed to a partnership of 2 or a single proprietor. But Yes, now a second time around since we've set up Integrity in the last 3 years, we knew where skill sets were and who to put in what place, and it's been extremely effective for the business to grow in the market.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, for those who don't know the backstory, you were involved in another waste management company beforehand. And so, then this was a company then that was created after the non competes and so on ended for the people who are working in that business. And so, you created a similar business, it sounds like, right?
Yes,
And
that's correct.
so, then the full partnership group, then the six of you, were you all past partners and employees involved in the previous company, or were
Uh,
there new people that you brought into that partnership group?
Four of us we knew each other prior. We were anywhere we had met from junior high for some of them to college and university. And then two of the partners actually were hired as operations managers, who even at our old business Evergreen grew into owners of other waste companies. And
Hmm.
then when we got together to do Integrity, there was at least 10 years of history with everybody
Yeah.
along there. Yeah, all the way up to what would now be 25 to maybe creeping up on 30. I'm dating myself now.
Yeah, yeah. So, which is really interesting as well, is that there's a lot of people will say, don't start a business or get in a business with a friend, right?
Mhm.
And so, it sounds though like there's some deep connections there, dating back in some cases to junior high, like you said. But it sounds like a lot of the people at the table were friends before you became partners. And so, how do you guys navigate through that? I guess because that can be a challenge in some other partnerships for sure.
Yeah, I think some of our success, and I have thought of this, is we've really compartmentalized. Well, we haven't compartmentalized the business, but for the partners, what facets of the business or divisions you're responsible for, those are yours to manage day to day. Obviously the ownership group meets once a week and once a month, and et cetera, et cetera. But we're always getting input from the group. And we take our input and we discuss all decisions, and then we go from there. Day to day, though, our CEO is Lorenzo Donini. He is handling managing all the divisions. He's very hands on, so he'll be going where he thinks he needs to go, and then the divisions that are managed by the partners are theirs to own, and during day to day, there's discussions about things, but it's compartmentalized enough that we're able to work together in that sort of system, and that's worked really well, particularly because everybody is friends, and there's an important relationship there that trying to foster a professional and a working relationship doesn't always go as smoothly as you may think, and we know the pitfalls where people have said don't do business with friends, because there is a potential to end the relationship over issues. But for us, it's also been a strength, and that's been our formula for us to be able to work really well together.
Yeah, and I think that's the key, right? Is when it does work well, if you set things up correctly, it works really well because you have a different level of understanding, a different level of comfort, a different ability to have those difficult conversations potentially as well than what you would in a situation where you don't have that personal connection or that back history. So when it works well, it's really great, I think.
It does.
And
It,
now,
it, it does really work well, yeah. And there are those strengths there of really having a lot of trust and investment just beyond a business partner.
yeah.
That there are those advantages, absolutely.
Okay, so for those people who don't know what Integrity Waste Solutions is all about, what kind of services you guys provide over there, can you share with us a little bit about the company?
Absolutely. We like to start with the name Integrity now. The industry, because of the contracts, and they're quite heavily weighted towards the service provider.
Hmm.
There's been some disgruntled customers, and I think the industry as a whole, who have not enjoyed being locked into contracts. And although they do place value in keeping prices down, and we do them as well too, Integrity is about trying to bring some honesty and upfront back to the industry and customers.
Hmm.
The Edmonton market, as an example, when you look at some of the larger companies, and they look to get 17 to 22% price increase, and they give those every year, and a customer contract is sort of stuck into those things. So our approach is to provide all costs right up front,
Mm.
instead of a price that's below cost on year one, and then you just year two and three, and you really see the prices get out of control. So it increases our sales process, but it is one thing we definitely do try to do differently,
Mm.
and
Interesting.
it's been well received in the market over the last 3 years.
Yeah, and so just to summarize the services though, so it's your typical waste management, right? So
Yeah,
you guys come and pick up the big bins from construction sites or industrial sites, and you also there's some residential that you do as well, I believe, right? Is that correct?
that's correct. Yes, our three collection services are residential, and we've managed to grab a number of contracts that all have started except for a couple. Drayton Valley's come on this year. Camrose has come on this year.
Hmm.
Um, uh, Fort Saskatchewan is going to come on this year. So there's been a number of there's been large growth in that area. We do commercial, which is the front load, as I said. The ones where the forks come down the front and they pick it
Yeah,
up, put it down, and leave that. That's front load, and that's sort of medium sized bins, whereas the residential small. And then there's the big construction bins that people get, which we call roll off. And the reason why I call them roll off is they roll right off the back of the truck. So those are the
gotcha.
three segments. Yeah.
Yeah.
Our infrastructure in the background is we have a lot, not just for ourselves, but we work closely with a lot of waste companies as well too, which has been a little less traditional in our market. Usually guys have stuck to themselves and only done work, but the landfills around Edmonton have closed. Edmonton's waste management facility is it's not a landfill anymore. It's a processing facility and a transfer station. And now all the waste in Edmonton gets transferred out to landfills that are an hour to an hour and a half out of town. So we built
Right.
two stations in town here, the east and the west, where other guys and ourselves offload, and we load up larger trucks, 53-foot trailers, and then we take very large loads to the dumps outside of town. So we process quite a large amount in the summer. Our peak volumes are very very high. It's tens of thousands of tons. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. So you have the trucks, but you also have the processing facilities, and so it's a little bit of a more integrated model that you have then.
That's correct. Yeah. So there's a lot of infrastructure on the backside that can help us be more competitive for customers, and we use
Yeah.
that as a tool for cost control, because our industry, as we said, the price fluctuations are all over the place, and going back to the integrity name, we just really want to we do our best in a cost fluctuation market that really does have highs and lows, and we're subject to things that are outside of our control. But we really focus hard on that cost control to give our customers confidence that when they enter a contract, it's not going to hurt at the end of it. So,
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, obviously that's the best way to run a business is with that integrity and having a model that really sets you guys apart from what the industry norms are is really great. And I want to, dig a little bit deeper into the area of integrity, but also innovation.
hmm
So you guys, in the past company that you're with, and as well as this one that now currently, it sounds like you've had quite an innovative, I guess, story to the way that you've approached the industry. And I'm curious, how do you cultivate that innovative culture within the business? Because there's a lot of businesses out there that, for better or for worse, they're just trudging along the same old, right? They're not
hmm
disrupting the marketplace. But you were sharing with me before we hit the record button that you guys have done some significant disruptions. And so how do you cultivate that within your workforce?
Well, here I have to give credit to our CEO and my good friend Lorenzo Danini. He's a powerhouse in driving projects, and his ability to multitask and be that leader and identifying where we can go and how we do it. He's got quite a talent for sizing
Hmm.
the market up that way, and even beyond myself. And so he's always been one of the drivers of that. I think I mentioned briefly my background is in mechanical engineering, so I get to assist with that. Getting into the old business, Evergreen Ecological Services. there was an opportunity because we had built and retrofitted our recycling plant. We built it and did about 3 or 4 expansions onto it, and then it was time we grabbed more and more municipal contracts that we did need a larger facility. And it was Lorenzo's idea that what if we took it to the next level and it didn't just do recycling, but it was programmable to sort leads, which is construction bins. Usually those are segregated on site with you can have up to 10 bins. Whereas if a plan is able to sort it for you and give you your reports, you get your tax credits. There was we saw an opportunity there to really
Mm.
gain a lot of customers in the market and sort of make that process a lot more streamlined and manage it for them as well too. So if you can take some of that administration work off of them, it was very lucrative. The plant would also take any misappropriated organics out. And as I said, you could also run it as what we call a dirty MRF. You can run waste over it, and misappropriated organics or recycling can be pulled out as well too.
Mm.
So it was not without its challenges. We were the first ones to have this type of plant in Canada, and it definitely took a few retrofits because you give your best guess, but when you're doing something new, obviously there's going to be adjustments along the way. So,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
definitely one of the feathers in our hats for really bringing something unique to the marketplace.
Yeah. So I'm really curious about your story because there's a lot of entrepreneurs who listen to the show who have started businesses, and after a number of years it becomes somewhat stale or routine, right?
That's right.
And they're looking for something, a change, something that they can maybe reinvigorate themselves with, right? And get that excitement back. Now I understand that very recently you've stepped away from the business, from the operations side of things, and you're still a partner,
Yep.
but you're looking for something else. So walk me through, I guess, how challenging that decision was to step away and try to find a new challenge, I guess, versus staying within the business and trying to find some new ways to challenge yourself there.
Yeah, I think some of it goes back to my schooling and my passion of mechanical engineering, and I really enjoyed doing those sort of stuff and those sort of things. And if we were to over the last 2 businesses, you would always be able to tell where I had to scratch that itch. One of the things we built for the last business was I built a really inexpensive CNC plasma cutter, so we cut parts for our trucks, and we were able to do that and make these things for the working parts of the truck, not the tractor part. We were able to make parts less expensive and quicker than we could get them, usually from manufacturers. So I had always been trying to keep those skills up and dabbling into that. At the same time, sales has always been my ultimate passion while working. And I think there's now in my calls that there's not much new to see. And there's not a lot of new challenges as far as what we do for the customer. So those coupled with the fact that we just have a phenomenal ownership group that can get along without me, and they would do it quite well. So I wanted to change it up a bit and sort of try business from a different market.
So, any, I guess, irons in the fire right now in terms, or ideas in terms of what you're going to do next, or are you still at that stage of just discovery?
Still at discovery. The sky's the limit. So my wife made me start a list of things, and no matter how wild the deal, I've been dabbling with VR lately, and now I'm sort of thinking, can I market this enough for a business or that sort of stuff? One of the things that we bought was my wife was kind enough to remind me that I've put on a little weight since last year, and she was talking about getting me. I have a rowing machine, but it's been a little tough on my knees, so she was talking about a Peloton bike, and I thought, yeah, it's kind of fun, but there's actually something called an omnidirectional treadmill. If you've ever seen, there's a movie called Ready Player One. Have you seen
Yeah,
it by any chance?
yeah, yeah,
Okay.
totally.
Uh,
Great movie. Yeah.
yeah, you can buy everything in that movie now. it's 5 years after. So I exercise the VR, I play a game. So, but you actually get to run around on the spot, turn, jump, and this thing tracks you. And you don't have to worry about your stationary going around the wall. So I'm wondering if there's anything to do on that front, because right now it's a hobby. It's really interesting.
Yeah.
I've been looking for businesses to purchase in the oil and gas field. I've come across a couple of guys, but it's way too early to speculate on anything right now. But again, prior to my waste career, I was in that industry for about 8 years, and I really enjoyed the oil and gas and the fast pace of that as well too.
Yeah, yeah, and so with the success that you've had in the last couple businesses that you've been involved with, I'd imagine there's a different way that you assess those opportunities now than what you would have, say, back when you were 24, before you got involved with the first business. And so, what I guess are the key criteria that you're looking at now when you're trying to determine, okay, is this something I'm going to jump into for my next venture?
I have a lot more considerations, family, children.
Yeah.
Now, as I move into the next phase, I do definitely, if even if I start a business, I do want to maintain a balanced lifestyle, and I owe that to my family. So it'll be nice. It was nice around to start Integrity, because we had one kick at the can, and we did okay on the sale, so we had cash to start that business. So luckily, still in a position to do that with another business as well too. And I'm just hoping to do my best to maintain a normal lifestyle. That's so I enjoying myself, not just for planning for the future, but now as well.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's so key, right? Because you work hard to get to where you're at right now, and at some point you have to be able to like benefit from that. You take
That's
advantage
correct.
of the state, yeah, that you're
Yeah.
in, right? So, I'm curious, because you've had all this success, what would success look like for the next venture? Like, how do you know what you're really, I guess, going to try to achieve there? What is success on the next go around?
What? Well, part of it is the answer I just gave: a balanced lifestyle.
Yeah.
Again, I'm really keen on having a business with people that I'm invested in and are invested in me, and we have a relationship that's more than just working to a degree, so that we all really enjoy. I really want people to come into work and enjoy themselves, and I'm hoping to recreate that when I go do this on my own. So
Yeah.
that's another big one for me that really makes me excited to go to work, is seeing what people are working on, and providing any assistance, and having a good time.
So, what do you think is going to be easier this next go around for you?
What's going to be easier? Probably nothing, but
Yeah.
I guess, just fall back on past experience. Entrepreneurs, I think one of the biggest challenges is keeping yourself in a positive mind frame. So,
Yeah.
doing things, balanced lifestyle, that's good for me. Exercise, that's good for me. And keeping that great outlook, and excited about being excited about doing something new, and enjoying it more this time around. I know there's going to be long days. I know there's going to be bad times, but having experience of getting through them now, I mean, just smelling the roses a little more along the way will be much more enjoyable.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I'm curious if you have any advice for anybody who is at this point where they're feeling like, yeah, maybe it is time for me as well. Um, like, any advice on how to get to the decision, or to navigate through that decision process, I guess. Is there anything
Um,
you can share there?
I'd always recommend getting a mentor. I'm the
Mm,
product of having so many great mentors, and I have not come across an entrepreneur who said I didn't have a mentor. So
mm,
I think that experience that you can call on that is priceless. And to have someone's ear once in a while when you really have a difficult decision can provide some clarity and avoid a mistake. And as we know, the mistakes are costly, especially during startups. So having someone experienced to do that, and then remember to pay it forward. I think I'm on the tipping point now where
Mm.
say, I might be looking in the next 5 or 10 years to do some mentorship, and I feel I really have to pay back the great advice and help, free help too, that I've gotten over the years, so that
Yeah.
the next group that's coming up can enjoy success.
Yeah, that's great, man. I really, really appreciate that. I'm a big
Yeah.
fan of paying it forward, helping others, right? It's just, you get so much out of it. It's incredible. So, yeah. Well, I really appreciate you sharing your story, the journey you've been on and the journey yet to come. We're going to have you back on the show after you've started up your next venture and really touch base and see how that's been coming along
I would
what your
absolutely love it.
challenges. Yeah, yeah. What new
It would
challenges
be
maybe you have to
great.
overcome? Yeah. Well, thank you very much, Ryan. I really appreciate you taking the time today. And if anybody wanted to connect with you, maybe they've got a venture that they need somebody with your kind of experience to hop in and really take it to the next level. How would they get a hold of you?
I'm happy to provide my personal email. That's all I have right now. So it's Rye Brown at outlook.com. So
All right.
Rye Brown at outlook.com. Yeah,
Excellent.
if someone has an opportunity, I never say no initially, and we always explore every opportunity until it's time to run with it or shelf it. So yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Sounds
great,
really good. Well, thank
awesome.
you very much, Ryan. I really appreciate it again. And for those of you who are listening, if you enjoyed this episode and want to check out some other entrepreneurial stories, head over to amplifyyourbusiness.ca. That's where you're going to find the archives, and you can listen to us on all of your major podcasting platforms out there. So just search Amplify Your Business and you're going to find us on, Spotify, Apple, wherever. Until next time, everybody, have a prosperous day.